Welcome to the world of Reefscape. In this game, you will take on the role of a coral species growing from a single polyp into a thriving ecosystem. Along with the other players, you will expand across the seafloor, cultivate habitats, and attract diverse marine life to your colorful reef. Reefscape is a 1 to 6 player tile laying game with no predefined board. The colorful tiles each player lays throughout the game become the board that the game is played on. Note that the game contains both a solo mode as well as a beginner mode, but today we'll be focusing on the standard game, which will be played by 2 to 6 players. Now, before we dive into the rules, let's look at the board setup. To the side of the main play area, you will have an action board where players will place their pawns and select actions, and the title board, which tracks the global tide and your influence over it. We'll also have a deck of ebb and flow cards that at the start of the game are shuffled and set aside. Note the dynamic life bonus on the title board, which is a randomly selected bonus that changes each time the game is played. Completing this objective at some point in the game will give you an additional bonus at the end. We'll talk more about that later. There are two main resources in Reefscape: minerals, which are used to build tiles and manipulate the reef, and vitality, which are used to trigger special events or perform more powerful actions. Each player starts with a set of coral tiles, a set of action pawns for taking turns, and tokens representing marine life, like fish. Each player should start with 5 fish tokens, 1 turtle, and 1 starfish. Finally, at the center of the table is the main event, the reef. There is no predefined board. The reef is made of hexagonal tiles and grows organically as players place their tiles sprawling outward from the central spawning ground kelp forest tile. Your main objective is to have the most life points, or LPs for short, at the end of the game. You can earn LPs in 2 main ways. During the game, by completing goal cards, which have you create specific patterns with your tiles, and by placing marine life tokens, like fish, onto habitats. At the end of the game, you also gain LPs through end-of-game bonuses, which we'll cover later. The game does not last a fixed number of rounds. While competing for LPs, players will need to stay aware of progress being made towards the final round. The final round of the game is triggered when a player has either placed their 5th and final fish token, or they have reached the top of the title influence track, level 6, at the beginning of the round. If either of those criteria are met, the players make it known that this is the final round and play out the round before the end of game scoring. Now, let's talk about the reef and tile placement. Each player plays as a specific color of coral tile. You will use actions to place or move these tiles around the main reef throughout the game. You may place new coral tiles of your color next to any previously played tile on the reef. It does not have to be only next to your own previously played tiles. However, there is one golden rule that you must never break: the contiguous reef rule. The reef must always remain a single connected structure. You cannot place a tile or move a tile if it would cause the reef to split into 2 separate pieces. In addition to your coral tiles, there are habitat tiles. Unlike your coral, these are permanent tiles that cannot be moved once placed and provide resources or scoring opportunities. All habitat tiles can have at least 1 marine life token of a player's color placed on them, as long as the player has an adjacent coral tile. As the reef grows, you will fight for control of habitat tiles. You control a habitat tile if you have more of your coral touching it than any other single player. Being adjacent to and controlling habitat tiles is key to generating resources and scoring life points throughout the game. Now, let's briefly talk about each of the habitat tiles and what they do. Kelp forests. You can think of these as their factory tiles. They produce minerals for players that have coral tiles adjacent to them, as well as minerals for its controller. The spawning ground is a starting tile. The spawning ground starting tile is a kelp forest, which ensures that everyone starts with some production. Thermal vents are habitats that can count as a coral tile for whichever player controls it. This is useful when attempting goals or calculating control of other habitats. Think of it like a wild card coral. Finally, giant anemones. Most tiles can only host 1 marine life each, but giant anemones are a prime spot for life to thrive. They can host up to 2 life each and score 2 LPs per life form instead of the usual 1. This makes it a prime target for attracting life, but comes with a restriction that only the controller of the tile may attract life to it. There are two more unique habitat tiles that are only placed at the beginning of the game during board setup in a random location: the shipwreck and the sunken cave. Both of these are functionally the same in the game. You may attract life to either one of these unique habitat tiles to gain the usual 1 LP, but also gain a single use action bonus pawn that will allow you to take an additional action on one upcoming round. Unlike the usual restriction of 1 marine life, these unique tiles can host up to 1 for each player, allowing every player the opportunity to claim that bonus pawn. Finally, control of these special tiles at the end of the game will gain a player a bonus LP, or 2 if the habitat is evolved. What does evolved mean? Well, let's talk about that. Through the course of the game, you will also have the option to evolve tiles on the board. When you do this, you will place an evolution halo on the tile to mark it as evolved. Evolving a tile makes it permanent. It can no longer be moved by anyone's drift action, not even your own. This is crucial for protecting key coral positions on the board. Additionally, evolved tiles on the reef provide bonuses based on the type of tile. An evolved coral tile will grant its controller a bonus LP at the end of the game if it is adjacent to 5 other tiles, or 2 bonus LPs at the end of the game if it's fully surrounded, known as reef locked. Note that even when not evolved, any coral that is reef locked is considered permanent and cannot be moved until it has at least one side that is no longer surrounded. Habitat tiles grant bonuses based on their type. Evolved kelp forests will grant their controller an additional 1 vitality when they produce resources. Evolved giant anemones can allow for placing 3 marine life instead of the usual 2, and the other habitat tiles grant an additional bonus LP at the end of the game for their controller when evolved. Now, let's talk about the heart of the game, which lies in the ebb and flow cards. Now, the ebb and flow cards are multi-use cards. The top half is a visual goal representing the coral formation that you can complete to claim and earn life points. Alternatively, the bottom half of each card is an event that you can play from your hand for a powerful one-time event. These cards are interacted with in 2 primary ways throughout the game. First, you have your private hand of cards, which you draft 1 card into at the start of the game, and will gain additional cards throughout the game by either taking the adapt action or at the start of a round. Once in hand, you may claim a goal card for its stated LP amount at the end of any round, if your coral tiles meet the specified criteria. Alternatively, you may play the event on the card at any time during your turn prior to taking or resolving other actions. The second way these cards are used is through the public and forecast cards, the public goal and forecast cards. At the start of the game, 3 cards are turned up on the title board. The first is the current public goal. The next 2 are forecast cards. The current public goal is effectively a goal that is available for all players to claim at the end of the round in turn order. The event text on these cards can be ignored. Only the goal is relevant. At the start of every round, if the public goal was claimed in the previous round, or if a low tide was rolled, a new public goal is brought forward from the forecast card, and the current public goal is discarded, moving each of the forecast cards forward and drawing a new card into the back of the line. In this way, you can effectively see and plan for what the next public goal is likely to be. Now, we've discussed all of the main elements of the game, so let's discuss how it's played. Reefscape is played in rounds. Each round has a setup phase, a placement phase, a resolution phase, and a cleanup phase. Every round begins in the setup phase by rolling the title die. This sets the environmental conditions for everyone. A low tide, a roll of 1 to 3. The water is calm. Any public goal is taken out with the tide, and a new one is from the forecast is rotated in. On a high tide, the current is strong. If the public goal exists, it stays in play this round. Note that most of the time this is a standard white 6-sided die, but players may take actions to change this to a red low tide die, which only has the numbers 1 to 3 on it, or a blue high tide die, which only has the numbers 4 to 6 on it to force an outcome. Next, the start player should check to see if any of the final round conditions have been met, and if so, announce the final round. And finally, at the end of this phase, any player that does not have any ebb and flow cards in hand may pay 1 vitality to draw 1 into their hand prior to starting the placement phase. Now, in the placement phase, players take turns placing action pawns one action pawn at a time on the action board. You aren't taking the action yet, you're claiming your spot in line to take the action this round. We'll cover what actions are available soon. Each action has a defined number of slots available. If there are no untaken slots remaining on an action, you may not perform the action this round. And that one. Each action, once all pawns are placed, we enter the resolution phase. Actions are resolved strictly in numerical order, 1 to 10. If multiple pawns are placed on the same action, they resolve from left to right before moving to the next action. Finally, after all actions have been resolved, the round enters the cleanup phase. And let's get to our cleanup phase. We'll explain what all of these actions I'm taking are in a moment. Now, we are in the cleanup phase. In this phase, the public goal can be claimed by any player in turn order. In this game, nobody met the criteria for the public goal. Then each player has the chance to reveal any private goals from their hand that they wish to claim. Any goals claimed are placed face up in front of the player who claimed them, and they gain the LP on the card. For every 2 cards a player has claimed, they additionally gain 1 title influence on the title influence track. If this was the final round, the game is over and moves to final scoring. If not, the action pawns are reset and the next round starts back at the setup phase. Now, let's walk through the actions available to you. First, we have Guide Currents. This action lets you manipulate how the rest of the round resolves. You get to take the start player token, allowing for you to act first on a public goal resolution for this round, and place your pawn first in the following round. You will also pay 1 mineral, or you may pay 1 mineral to re-roll the title die, or 3 to change it to an explicit high or low title die. Next, we have Lagoon. This is the easiest way to get resources. By placing here, you gain minerals equal to the die roll. If the die roll is a low tide, you also gain 1 vitality. Additionally, you may optionally exchange any number of minerals for vitality at a 2-to-1 exchange rate. Grow Nurture. This action is for building or fortifying your coral tiles. You have 2 choices here, Grow or Nurture. Grow allows you to add coral tile to the reef, and you gain minerals for every side that your new tile is touching upon placing it on the reef. If you have no coral tiles left, you may still take this action to just gain 3 minerals. Nurture lets you place a fish token on one of your own coral, doubling your control strength for that coral. So now it will count twice when calculating control of neighboring habitats, particularly useful if you are fighting for control of a key habitat. Algae Bloom is an interesting action. This action resolution triggers kelp forests. Remember, those are your factories on the board to produce resources. However, there's a catch. If anyone places a pawn here, each pawn must be used to choose 1 kelp forest to trigger. But if no one places a pawn on the action, all kelp forests will produce automatically for free. So if nobody places on it, then all of the kelp forests trigger. This dynamic may cause a game of chicken in some rounds, so make sure you know if someone else places here and limits production, so if you're depending on it. Cultivate is how you place new habitat tiles onto the reef. You may pay minerals to place a new habitat tile from the supply. Additionally, the first habitat tile placed of each type per game will unlock a new action to be available. In this game, because I just placed a kelp forest, we unlocked the Evolve action. The Evolve action starts out locked until someone cultivates a kelp forest. Once unlocked, players may pay 3 minerals and 1 vitality to place an evolution halo on a tile. Next, we have Adapt. This is used to draw more ebb and flow cards into your hand. The action costs a number of minerals equal to the current title die. But when it's cheaper at low tide, you must draw a card blindly from the top of the ebb and flow deck. But at high tide, Though it costs more, you can instead steal one of the face-up forecast cards and bring it into your hand. Next, we have Drift. This is another action that starts the game locked until the first thermal vent is cultivated. But here you can pay minerals to move a non-permanent coral tile to another valid spot on the reef. Moving your own coral tile is cheap. Moving opponent's tile is more expensive, but can thwart their plans. Next, we have Tidal Shift. In this action, you can choose to spend your vitality to trigger a powerful tidal event. We'll cover those in a moment. Finally, we have Attract Life. Attract Life is the final action that also starts the game locked until a giant enemy has been played. Here you can pay 2 minerals and 2 vitality to place a fish token on an open habitat that you have a coral tile adjacent to and immediately score an LP. Note that if the current tidal die is a 1, you can optionally place your starfish token instead, or on a 6, you may optionally place your turtle. Finally, let's go back and talk about tidal events and the tidal influence. All right, so this is effectively your tech tree. The most common event is Research Tides. This one is going to give you 1 vitality and 1 tidal influence for 0 cost. Additionally, at the start of the game, you have favorable currents available to you for 1 vitality. Based on the tide, this will let you draw a card or place a coral tile. Once you have gained at least 2 tidal influence throughout the game, again, either through Research Tides or by gaining at least 2 goal cards, you get 1 tidal influence for every 2 goal cards you gain. You unlock more of these. Predict Tides lets you control the next round effectively, or take control of the next round. Introduce Species allows you to perform a special Attract Life action, placing your starfish or turtle tokens. And finally, once you get 4 tidal influence, you unlock Tidal Wave, which allows you to effectively play 2 actions in 1 turn. And that's it. Once the final round is triggered, again, by either somebody placing their 5th fish token or somebody reaching level 6 on the influence track, the start of the next turn triggers the final round. And that round is played out, including the final cleanup phase, and the game moves to final scoring. During the game, each player should have scored LPs immediately for all goal cards claimed and marine life placed on habitat tiles. In addition, players will gain end-of-game bonuses as follows. And you can always click up here for this handy reference sheet if you're ever playing and need it. So at the end of game scoring, you'll get 2 LPs if you were the first to place all 5 of your fish tokens. You'll get 2 LPs if you met that dynamic life bonus. Any player that met the dynamic life bonus will get that 2 LPs. You'll get 2 if you were able to place a fish, a starfish, and a turtle at some point throughout the game. And then you'll get LPs based on that tile control that we talked about. So controlling the shipwreck or the cave will get you 1 LP or 2 if they're evolved. And similarly, controlling any evolved thermal vents will get you 1 LP. Or evolved coral tiles that you have that have 5 neighbors will get you 1 LP, or 6 will get you 2. And that's it. If we get to the end game and 2 players are tied, the tiebreakers are in order. Highest tidal influence, most minerals, most vitality, or finally the final turn order based on the last placement of the start player token. Before you dive in, here are a couple tips for success. Don't ignore the tides. Make sure that you keep an eye on the tidal die. Cheaper adapt actions or more lucrative lagoons can be played to your advantage. Start player advantage. Remember that the start player during the placement phase gets to place pawns first, but the player with the token during the cleanup phase will have the first opportunity to score the public goal. So if you're fighting for that public goal with someone else, make sure you get that start player token. And finally, watch the forecast. Claiming public goals is a great way to quickly earn LPs, but watch the forecast cards to help you prepare for the next public goal ahead of time. And that's it. I hope you enjoy Reefscape. Please consider providing feedback on the gameplay at reefscape.com, and good luck!